Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today is the 2nd of October 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, some of the charts that we looked at this morning. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay. Also, before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, but specifically our JFD Research tab, which you can always also check out on a daily basis, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here, guys, for yourself. So feel free to visit us. But for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the FTSE 100. Now, I talked about the FTSE this morning, and to be honest, I keep talking about it since the beginning of this week. And basically, it's quite interesting technically and just fundamentally, of course. So, looking at this picture and what I was talking about this morning, it was what I was saying that this morning during the video, the cash index was already below the 7,350-51 zone. So, this was the breakout area for us to kind of aim for lower levels. In a way, there was an idea that we could see maybe a bit of correction, but as you can see, the index never went for a correction. It just went for a sell-off and drifted below the 200 EMA. And this is what also I was saying, that if it continues to slide below all of its EMAs here, the next target for us is around the 7,284 zone, which, if broken, could open the path towards this little level right here near the 7,200 level. So it managed to travel and hit our target, and that's wonderful. The only thing is that it continues to slide. So for now, the big question will be, will we see a daily close below the 7,200 zone or not? So if we do, then this could be opening the path towards further declines. We could see this one drifting towards our next potential target around the 7,131 zone, marked by the high of the 28th of August. And then, of course, we will consider further declines if we see this one drifting to the downside below the 7,131. And in that scenario, we will consider the lows of August, basically, where the index sold off, as you can see. So after kind of hitting a high in July here, this year's high, if I'm not mistaken, yes, the index sold off, and now this little move here, or should I say this couple of months move here to the upside, could have been seen maybe as a possible correction. So that's why, guys, if this has been seen as a possible correction, then, well, I mean, this is not looking good for FTSE, and we could see this one drifting further down. The only thing is that in order to become that very negative about this index, we would need to see a drop below the 7,000 level here. So 7,020, or in general the psychological 7,000 level. So only then we will consider further declines. But for now, we're going to be very careful, of course. From the very short-term perspective, this index is selling off. It continues to sell off. And the big question here is, will this index stay below the 7,200 level today? If it does, then it increases the chances of a further move towards the 7,130 zone, 31 that I've just recently mentioned. But of course, if it tests that, then we could see a bit of correction maybe from here. So do not exclude a possibility of seeing a correction. This is the scenario in the case if we see a close below the 7,200 level today. If it closes above, then we could see that little correction earlier, and we could see something like this, that the index could travel a little bit higher, test the 7,285 zone area approximately around there, and then if it struggles to push above it, then we could see another round of selling here. So that's why, guys, for now, all eyes are on the daily close today. In terms of the upside, well, it's a bit of a tricky one with the upside here. To be honest, we will start looking at higher, well, some higher levels if we get a push back above the 7,350 zone. But of course, ideally, we would like to see a push above this one right here near the 7,385 and then aim for higher levels. For now, it seems that the upside could be slightly off the table. Dow Jones Industrial Average. I looked at this one yesterday as well, and this is what I was talking about. So in my Traders Tea Time, I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little range here. So, and also what I was saying that we needed to see a nice good daily close outside of this little range. And let me just jump into a daily chart here. That's a weekly. So in a way, we got our close outside. It continues to drift further south. Looking at the cash index right now, so the cash index is around the 26,400 level, approximately around there. So in a way, the cash index is currently balancing around this level here. The target that I was talking about, I was talking about yesterday, basically. What I was saying that if we get a drop below this level here, the 26,720 zone, this increases the chances for a further slide towards the 26,415 area. And looking at the cash index right now, it is currently around here, maybe just slightly below that, but we will continue targeting lower levels, because if this area here, the 26,415 zone, is going to act as a good area of resistance today, then, well, the next target here on the downside is for us the 26,000 level. So and around that area. So of course I have this 26,040 zone around here, but to be honest, a nice good psychological level of 26,000 could be met if this continues to slide further below the 26,400 level. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. It's not looking good for the equity markets for now, unless something really changes, unless they will come out with some sort of a headline saying that the trade talks are moving along nicely and they're reaching some sort of agreements or something like that. Basically, we had that previously in the past, so this could in a way help the market to revive a little bit here and push back to the upside. The only thing is still everybody understands that the trade wars have not disappeared anywhere, so that's why the equity markets could be under pressure still. So that's why, guys, for now, technically, from the technical side, yep, a further drop below the 26,400 level could lead towards the psychological 26,000 zone, and then we'll take it from there. We'll see what he wants to do after. In terms of the upside, still for us, the same level remains as the confirmation, as a good confirmation of an upside is the 27,000 level. But of course, I do understand that it's quite a big of a move here to miss out. So in a way, what you could do here is, if we see the index traveling back above the 26,400 zone, and if it decides to push back above the 26,720, now this is where it could become a little bit more interesting, maybe for the buyers. Still, don't get me wrong, it could be a risky one, but it at least could increase the chances for this one to drift further north. So that's why for us to start considering higher levels, we'll look at the 26,720 zone, but to get confident and comfortable with higher levels, a push above this 27,000 level, that's what we would need to see, guys. So for now, of course, let's see how this is going to play out today, but it's not really looking good for looking good for the equity markets. So jumping into a few pairs now very quickly. AUDUSD, I talked about this one this morning, and what I was saying here, guys, basically the fact that this level here acted as a fantastic area of support yesterday, the 0.667370 zone, approximately around there. we should keep an eye on it, and basically if this gets a break and we see a close below this, then yep, further declines could be possible. So this morning, this is what I was saying, that we may see this one curving, initially moving to the upside and then curving down, moving back towards this 0.6670 zone. As you can see, we did have that drop, but it's still this level here kind of acted as a very strong area of support. So in a way, how we could play this one out right now is, of course, we'll shift our arrow. This is going to be our breakout point here near the 0.6670 area, and if we get a drop below this, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could target the 0.66 zone. Then maybe, of course, in between here we could stall near the 0.66 and a half, or maybe a little bit lower. But for now, guys, this is how we're going to look at this. We need to see a nice good drop below the 0.6670 before we could examine further declines, because this way the pair would confirm a forthcoming lower low. In terms of the upside, well, in a way you could start looking at higher levels if we see a push above this area right here near the 0.6719-20 zone. But to be honest, ideally, previously I was talking about this level right here, the 0.6780, but we can in a way start looking at higher levels if we get already a push above the 0.6730 zone. But again, we'll start looking at higher levels. The only thing is here, and what you could kind of keep an eye on here is, and let me just quickly show you on the chart, this little tentative downside resistance line. And let me just quickly adjust this there. That's the wrong area here. There we go. So this is what I'm talking about. So this little tentative downside resistance line could in a way keep the rate down. So in a way, that's what I'm saying. So even if we see a push above the 0.6730 area, yes, we will start looking at slightly higher levels. We will initially aim for this downside resistance line, but if that fails to withhold, now this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the buyers. USDJPY, I haven't looked at this one for quite a while, and after finding, basically last time I've looked at this one, it was still kind of trading within this little small range here between the 107.62 and the 108.17 zone. So as you can see by the arrows, basically what I was talking about then was that if we get a break above the upper side of the this little range here, then we could aim for the 108.48 zone, but we're not going to drift. We're not going to push this one further north unless we see a clear break, and ideally a close above this level. So we never got this break, and we never actually got a close. And of course, yesterday on the ISM numbers, on the ISM manufacturing numbers, it sold off heavily, drifted to the downside, and found good support near this lower side of this this kind of range that I was talking about. So in a way, today the pair continues to slide. It drifted below the 107.62 and tested the this 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So it acted as a very good area of support. So we're going to keep an eye on this one. If this pair continues to slide and it drops below the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, then our next target is going to be around the 106.93 area, which previously acted as a fantastic area of support here back on the 24th of September. So that's for now the game plan for the downside. For the upside, excuse me, how we could look at this is basically we're going to shift our highlighted area a little bit to the upside here, and we're going to take this other potential barrier before we could examine higher levels. We need to see a nice good push above the 107.90 level now before examining a possible move back towards the 108.48 zone. And then yep, we'll take it from there. So for now, that could be our little game plan here for the from the very short term perspective. If this decides to push back above the 107.90, then we could consider a possible move towards the 108.48. But for now, it's trading below its 107.62 area. But if it continues to slide below the 200 EMA, then yep, we will aim for the 106.93. And if we reach that level, we'll take it from there. USDCHF, I talked about this one this morning, and a fantastic move higher. So this morning we were still hanging around here, and what I was saying that we may see a move higher, but if it struggles to push either above the 0.9949 zone or the this pivot line near the 0.9956, if it struggles to push above that, then we could see this one curving back down and pushing towards the lower side of the rising channel. But what I was also saying, but if this gets broken and the rate travels above the 0.9983 zone, 84 area, then we will consider a possible move higher. But for us to get comfortable with further acceleration to the upside here, we needed to see a nice good push above these recent highs, or should I be more specific, yesterday's highs, and that was approximately around the 1.0017 area. In order to kind of consider higher levels, we needed to see a nice good push and a break above this. But as you can see, it did have a break and did have a false breakout here, and it retraced back to the downside, but is getting held here by this level, the 0.9984 area. So in a way, how we could look at this for now is something like this. So if it continues to hold, if this area continues to hold the 0.9984, then yep, we will consider a possible move back here towards the 1.0017 area. But if that surrenders, then again, if it surrenders, then yep, we will aim for higher levels. If it starts dropping below the 0.9984, this little territory is going to be for us somewhat of a neutral one, because for us now to consider again slightly lower levels, we need to see a move back below the 0.9948 zone. So, and only then we will aim for, initially we will aim for the lower side of the rising channel, and then we'll take it from there. GBPCAD. So today we did have a bit of disappointing data from UK. Construction PMI fell further, and the expectation was that it's going to be around 45, still in the contraction area, but it showed up at around 43. So of course, the initial reaction was a bit to the downside, but as you can see, and by the way, you can see that this has not been touched by me for quite a while as well. So GBPCAD here continues to slide below this little downside resistance line. The only thing is that it is really struggling with this level right here near the 1.6208. And actually, to be more specific, let me just quickly adjust this level. This is the area here, so near the around the 1.6190. So that level for 2 days in a row continues to act as a very strong area of support. So we're going to keep an eye on this one, because if this gets a break here below this 1.6190, then we will consider further declines, as this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could initially aim for this little territory right here near the low of the 9th of September, and that's approximately around the 1.61 zone. But if that fails to withhold, then yep, further declines are possible towards the lowest point of September near the 1.5955 zone. So, but then again, for now, we're going to remain very careful. Yes, it is pushing higher. It's breaking above its pivot right now. The day is not finished. It may end up testing this downside resistance line, this short-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 20th of September. But if it struggles to push above it, we could see this one curving back down and drifting towards this 1.6190 zone. So, but again, for us to get excited with further declines, we ideally would like to see a drop below this level that I just mentioned, and that's the 1.6190 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. In terms of the upside, ideally we'll start looking at higher levels if we get a push above the 1.63. And let me just quickly adjust this, because this needs to be adjusted here, guys. 1.6335 area, approximately around there. And this way, the rate would also travel back above the back above the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. Of course, it would automatically be already above its downside resistance line, but this is the level to watch, guys. And let me just quickly put a highlighted area here. This is what we're going to be waiting for in order to consider higher levels again. And initially, if we get a break here above the 1.6335, 37 even actually, so around there, if we get a nice pop above this, then yep, we will aim for the 1.6450 area, approximately around there, and then we'll take it from there, guys. We'll see what he wants to do after. But for now, of course, it is making its way higher. It's correcting because for now, as long as it remains below this downside line, it will see this as a correction. So for now, guys, but in order to get comfortable with the downside, a drop below the 1.6190 is required. And the last pair for this session is euro dollar. I talked about this, and it's working out nicely. So this morning I was talking about this level here, the 1.0924, and of course I was talking about the 1.0904 level as well. So we did have a nice overshoot through the pivot, but as you can see, the pivot never closed the 4-hour candle below the pivot, and now it's trying to make its way higher. So for now, this is looking quite interesting for the buyers, and in a way, how you could also look at it, I mean, I wouldn't say that this, if somebody's thinking that this could be a nice inverted head and shoulders formation here on the 4-hour chart, still it's not a very clear one, so that's why I'm not going to focus on this too much. But at the level here, the 1.094045, where it is currently sat at, it's quite an interesting one. So if we get a nice push further north, then yep, we will continue aiming for the 1.0964. But if that fails to withhold, now this is where we will aim for this downside resistance line again. The downside resistance line is taken from the high of June. So for now, it seems to be willing to travel higher, but then again, it's too early to talk about that. We need to see a push above the 1.0964 in order for us to consider the downside. Ideally, we would like to see a drop back below the 1.0878 and only then aim for lower levels, because this way the pair would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and more sellers could be joining in. For now, of course, the ADP non-farm employment change figure came out lower, slightly lower than expected. So of course the big number is still to come on Friday, but for now you can see that there's a dollar weakness, and the euro is kind of piggyback riding on it, and you can see that there is a willingness for it to travel higher, but we'll get more comfortable if we see a push above the 1.0964 level first, and then we'll aim for these slightly higher levels. Okay guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always, at my Traders Espresso, and that's 6 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a beautiful trading day, guys. And if you're finished trading for today, then I hope you have a fantastic evening, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.